So the entirety of The Mandalorian Season 2 is officially out, and it's time we talk about it, lads. So hello and welcome to the new after show of films, movies, no, same thing that. Films, TV shows and games that once we've played them, watched them, we'll review them here on the channel. So, today we're going to be talking about the entirety of The Mandalorian Season 2, which is obviously going to focus on a little bit more of the end of it, because that's what we've watched, and I didn't have the idea for the after show until when the show was finished. Okay, so, before we get into it, I'm going to give out a spoiler warning for everyone who hasn't seen the show yet, because we are going to be talking spoilers today. So if you haven't seen the show yet, please just watch it. It's all on Disney Plus now. The whole show is there. Just sit down and watch it. It's worth it, lads. All right. So if you're a Star Wars fan, if you're not a Star Wars fan, just watch the show. It's pretty good. So the overall synopsis of this season is that Mando embarks on a quest to find other Mandalorians so that he can track down the Jedi and get Grogu, Baby Yoda, training, because he needs it. And we obviously learn a lot more about the Star Wars universe. It's a very connected to the expanded universe season. This is very extended universe Star Wars stuff, which I'm fine with, very fine with, but we'll get all into that later. So episode 1, we went to Tatooine and met Cobb Vanth, who is wearing Boba Fett's armor. Obviously, the first time we saw him in the armor, we were like, that's not Boba. He doesn't fit the armor. Then episode 2, we had the passenger, was the frog lady and going to the space spider planet. And then the third episode was the Hyrus, where we met Bo-Katan in live action. Hell yeah, baby! So we met Bo-Katan in live action. And then episode 4. Also, episode 3 was when Mando realised you don't have to wear the helmet to be Mandalorian, which obviously comes up later in the season. And obviously, hopefully in season 3 he sticks with the promise Hopefully he sticks with the keeping the helm off in season 3, because that would be cool. I want to see more Pedro Pascal Mando. It'd be cool for him to do a little bit more than just sit behind a mask. So let's get into the good of the show. The plot was extremely engaging. There wasn't an episode where I wasn't having an absolute blast. There isn't a single episode of this season that is bad at all. There's not a single episode that is bad. Every single one, I wouldn't say is a banger, but every single episode is pretty damn good. I wouldn't rate any of the episodes below a 7, to be honest. The acting was great. Pedro Pascal obviously shined as Mando. Giancarlo Esposito as Moff Gideon, superb as always with that man. He's a pretty talented actor. Also, a character that took me by surprise was Mayfeld in episode 7. Yeah, 7. Took me by surprise, as in, damn, his performance was great, and the character work with him was fantastic, and I loved it. Obviously, Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan. Glad to see Bo-Katan in live action. Starting to pay off to be a Clone Wars fan, lads. Let's go! So, also, Rosario Dawson, well done on bringing my favourite Star Wars character to live action. Ahsoka had the best episode of the season, which is obviously fantastic, seeing as I'm the biggest Ahsoka fanboy that you may ever meet. Tamira Morrison, back as Boba Fett. Let's go. What more can you say except hell yeah? More Boba Fett the better, as I always say. Also, the character work this season is great. It's hands down superb. Mando getting more attached to the child, Grogu, and becoming more of a father to this little scamp. No, he's just becoming more of a, you can start relate to him more. You can start being like, yep, that's something he'd do. Because he was on the path of becoming, heartless bounty hunter, and it took the child to make him realise that that's not the way. He's got to protect this little thing, I'm taking the hood off now, because I can't hear myself. And the writing is hands down some of the best we've ever seen in the Star Wars universe, because probably Jon Favreau's a talented writer. The man has done so much. His movie portfolio is probably one of the best ever. Like, man started with... I can't remember what he started with. But the man did Elf, Iron Man, another Mandalorian. What the hell? Also, Dave Filoni. Well, the gods of Star Wars at this moment in time is Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, because this show is just downright superb and outstandingly phenomenal. I can't explain how good this season and this show is overall. It's just great. Ahsoka, best episode in the season, and I'm so glad that they give Dave Filoni the directing for that episode, because, you know, he made the character. I think he made the character, didn't he? Pretty sure. But the man has written the most with Ahsoka. You know what I mean? The staff and the lightsabers and the slow choreography. I think Dave Filoni's good at that because of, you know, Rebels and Obi-Wan and Maul's final fight. That is, you know, slow and well paced, and it didn't need to be some huge flips and stuff and all the, you know, things we expect from a Star Wars fight. We want to see Obi-Wan being the old Ben Kenobi slow fighter that we know he is because of A New Hope, and he slowly fights Darth Vader. He's the slow, more calculated fighter now, and obviously Ahsoka is getting a little bit older. Obviously she still has all of her techniques. She's a very talented woman in the art of the saber, but she takes it a little bit slower in these fights. She takes it very much slower. She is calculated with her hits, and the choreography was just splendid with that fight. Also, the tension was incredible. The whole the tragedy episode was just expertly made with tension. Like, when the droids are walking towards the child and we see Mando and Fennec Shand running up the hill trying to save him, you're just watching like, oh, you're on your edge of your seat, like, come on, please, just save him, please, come on. And then the tension in the last episode with Moff Gideon and the Darksaber and the fights and the Dark Troopers punching their way in, and then Luke Skywalker showed up, but we'll get into that in a bit. And also, obviously, as I said, everything is choreographed amazingly. Each fight, doesn't matter if it's a lightsaber fight, a hand-to-hand fight, a space battle, a gunfight, all of it is just choreographed very well, and it's just well made as hell, and I love it. Baby Yoda is obviously still very cute and the heart and soul of this show. We'll get into what I think should be the heart and soul moving forward in a sec. And also the final scene with Luke, R2, Din and Grogu is the best scene in the show so far. I'd say it's expertly made. It doesn't need dialogue. It didn't need Luke Skywalker walking in and going, I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue you. You don't need that fan service stuff. And while it does feel like Luke was there for fan service, if you think about it, it does make sense that he showed up. Because if Luke, obviously he was reached out to by Grogu through the Force on the Seeing Stone, obviously Luke would pick up if someone is calling you who is a child who is the same species as the man who trained you in the Force. Obviously, Luke is going to pick that up and go there as soon as possible. And I really want to see more Luke and Grogu moving forward. Even if it's just a little scene, I want to see Luke being a little bit more human with Grogu. Obviously, he had the charm of Luke. That scene with him and the lightsaber fight in the hallway, amazing. It was so good. Hands down, incredible. Hands down, one of Luke's best moments. What I don't want to see is people saying that The Last Jedi Luke, oh, he's not canon anymore because we saw Luke doing this and all the cool stuff. No, Last Jedi Luke is canon. Don't get in a hissy fit. Both versions of Luke are good in their own ways. So before you start attacking me, I'm a man who loves all of Star Wars. There is not a single bit of Star Wars that I hate entirely. There's bits I don't like about it. There's bits I'm not too fond of. There's bits I'm a bit iffy on. But there's nothing in Star Wars that I hate at all. And I don't want to see... I can't handle hate on Star Wars that the sequels have got because they don't really deserve it, okay? I'm going to make a whole video on the sequels and why you should chill the hell out with it. But anyway, Din and Grogu's final scene in this season is just expertly made, and my sister was absolutely bawling her eyes out and I was just holding it together. But the relationship that they built up between Grogu and Din was just expertly made. It's incredible. But back to the tension, Grogu and... my friend was joking around with my other friend, Finn, if you're watching. my mate was messing around with Finn and said, "Oh, Baby Yoda dies," and he looked up and he went, "Have you actually just spoiled that for me?" And I think that comes down to the writing team, and we know that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, they'll pull a big hit on you like that. They'll pull something like that. There was not a single scene in this season where I thought everyone is safe, because no, everyone is. We haven't seen these characters in this state in time before. Everyone is in danger of dying, which is what makes the tension fantastic. My friend genuinely thought that he just spoiled that Baby Yoda was gonna die. Like, that's... And that Din as well, when the robot was pulling back his punches, and it wasn't... It's like, buh, buh, buh. Like, I genuinely thought for a second, oh, okay, Din is in a lot of danger here. He isn't very safe. Like, I was genuinely fearing for Din's life when he was coming up against the robot. I genuinely thought there's a lot of tension where you just don't know who's gonna live and who's gonna die, because obviously the title The Mandalorian can be passed through different Mandalorians, and I hope that they stick with Din for a while, because he's very interesting and I want to explore more of what he is and more of what he believes, and his development from a extreme religious Mandalorian has to be this, otherwise you're not Mandalorian, to a more laid back, more, as long as you live by some rules that the Mandalorians have, you're a Mandalorian. You don't have to keep your helmet on, you don't have to live by these extremely strict rules that Mandalorians have. You just have to be willing to live by Mandalore, It's confusing, and I want to get into it in a different kind of video, but we'll move. Okay, the bad/mediocre. There isn't anything bad, so all of this is literally just mediocre and stuff I'd like to see next season that I wish was in this one. One thing I wish I would see was more Din, more of character work with Din Djarin. If you don't know who I've been on about when I say Din, I'm on about the Mandalorian, because I like to call characters by their character names. Next season, obviously I loved all of the expanded universe stuff. I'm glad they brought Ahsoka in, but I want to see less of this show being a springboard for spin-offs, and I want to see this show take on a more personal thing, because it's not the Baby Yoda show anymore, and it's not a springboard for spin-offs. We've done that, we've been there, we've got a lot of spin-offs in the works. Now that it's time to crack down and work with Din Djarin's character and move forward with Din Djarin, which is what I want, because Din is becoming one of my favourite characters because of his work this season. And imagine all of that, but without it being held back by a springboard for spin-offs. Din Djarin could be one of the best Star Wars characters through Season 3 if they just work with him the whole way through, which is what I want to see. And also, there's one thing that a lot of people have obviously been on about, and that's Luke Skywalker's CGI. For me, it isn't like other people where it's too distracting to the point where it ruined the scene. No, people are like, oh, it's the jaw and, the way the mouth moves. No, for me, it's one of his eyes is just a bit off to me. And that's the only problem I have. Din needs more character work, and Luke Skywalker's eye. That's all the problems. If they fix his eye, then boom, we're sorted with Luke. The CGI, while not perfect, was still great. Like, it's incredible technology, and I don't think we should be taken away from the technology at all because of a scene that looks a bit sometimes. But to be honest, it looks great. Like, to me, it looks great anyway. That's just my opinion, but he just looks great. It's Luke Skywalker, man. You can't complain. One of his eyes is a bit off to me, but I'm not going to complain about the whole thing overall. Alright, the acting, obviously I've said Bill Burr, great as Mayfeld. Din Djarin, great. Pedro Pascal, well done. And I have favourite moments of this season. I've got three main favourite moments. Obviously the samurai fight between Ahsoka and the other woman. I'm sorry, I forgot her name, but that fight was great. And also the setup of where is Grand Admiral Thrawn. And people who watched Rebels and will know the search for Ezra will begin in Ahsoka, and I cannot wait, because Ezra needs to be fixed, okay? It's just a fact that Ezra is not a great character and he needs a lot of work. He gets a bit better as Rebels goes on, but he's never perfect. He's never the heart and soul of Rebels. The heart and soul of Rebels is Kanan and Hera, right? That's just it. But we'll get into Rebels in another video. Obviously, the scene with... I have four main favourite scenes, by the way. Favourite moments. The scene with Mayfeld and his old commander, The tension in that scene is great. Bill Burr's acting is phenomenal, and it's just a great scene. The scene with Luke Skywalker in the hallway, hands down great. Oozes with that Darth Vader vibes, and we're finally seeing Luke being a little bit more like his dad, which is kind of cool. But we know he won't turn because, Luke Skywalker. And then the final one I'm on about is Grogu and Din's final goodbye. Great, shot well, beautiful. The shot also, I forgot to mention this in the good part, there is absolutely outstanding shots in this season. It's insane how great this show looks at times. Alright, before we get into the lingering questions, I'm going to rank the episodes into 8 to 1, but I want to say none of these episodes are bad at all. None of them are bad, they're all great in their own ways. The worst they get is okay. Alright, so number 8 is going to be The Passenger, which is the one with the frog lady. There's nothing much to it, but it's not awful. The action is okay, and we see a little bit more of the New Republic, which I'm looking forward to, because I want to see... New Republic's a bit broken, like. We want to see more of that. Number 7, The Siege. At the time when I first saw this episode, it was one of my favourites, because I like that it sets up what they're doing with the child, which I think they're going to explore in Season 3. But I want to see more of what they're doing with Grogu and his blood, and I hope it's to do with bringing Snoke to life, because that would be more interesting than Palpatine at the moment. I want Palpatine to be more of Sith magic kind of thing, and I'm not complaining about Palpatine being back. I actually really like that element of Rise of Skywalker, but I wish they stuck with it through the whole trilogy. But anyway, number 6, we have The Marshal with Cobb Vanth. That episode was great. I actually love that one. Then number 7, we have number 5, we have The Higher-Us with Bo-Katan. As you can see, I put the first 4 in the bottom 4 because, they're just classic Mandalorian episodes. Really good, but nothing important. Obviously, the Bo-Katan stuff sets up Bo-Katan showing up later in the show for the finale. And then number 4, we have The Tragedy. The tension in that episode literally makes it deserve the 4th place. Number 3, we have The Believer. What else do I say about that episode except it was fantastic? Number 2, The Rescue. That's the finale. Outstanding. And number 1, The Jedi, because Ahsoka and the Jedi, and explore more of Din and Grogu's connection. I just feel like while that's what it should be going into the extended universe and going into all of this new stuff that could spring into spin-offs and all this new stuff. But it also works on the characters that lead this show, and that's what I want basically from this, and it did it really well. Okay, lingering questions before we get into the overall review. What will Grogu and Luke's training look like, and can we see it, please? Hopefully in Season 3. I feel like we're going to get 4 episodes of Din and whatever's going on with him and Bo-Katan. I want to see more of that. And then the other 4, there's like some kind of time jump and Grogu returns from his training with Luke, because obviously we're going to have Luke training Grogu as a Padawan, and then obviously Luke goes on 6 years later to create the Jedi Order 2.0 with Kylo Ren, and Grogu obviously isn't there because that in them 6 years Grogu will be training in the ways of the Jedi, and in them 6 years he will become a Jedi. And that amount of time, especially seeing as he has already started his training, he's already in touch with the Force, he's already all of this stuff, he just needs that little bit more time to finish the training, and then he can become a Jedi, and then Din and Grogu can be reunited. It's probably going to be the reunitedness, all the reunited stuff on the end, the final episode, they're going to be reunited of Season 3. And then the rest of it is going to be like I think it's probably not going to happen, but what I think would happen is a plot B kind of thing with Grogu training with Luke. I'm not sure. I feel like they're going to keep Luke and Grogu training off screen, but if they are going to show it, they'll do it plot A, plot B with Din, with Bo-Katan and all that, and discovering what's going on with the Empire and Grogu's blood, and then plot B with Luke training Grogu. And it's probably not going to happen. It's probably just going to stick with Din's story throughout the whole season, which I'd be completely fine with, and then ending with Grogu being reunited with Din. to lead us on to season 4, where we've got a grown-up Grogu and a fully developed Din, so we can have more adventures with them. What does the Empire want with Grogu's blood? I've gone into this a little bit in this video, but I feel like it's going to be something to do with the First Order and Snoke, because I feel like they're going to use this show like they did with Clone Wars and the prequels. They're going to try and work around to make the prequels a little bit, like Clone Wars made the prequels a lot better for me, and I feel like The Mandalorian could hopefully make the sequels better for me. I want something like the Clone Wars for the sequels, so that everyone can look at the sequels and go, they're not awful, they don't deserve all the hate we've given them. But anyway, 3, where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? I feel like him and Ezra are now separated from the space whales that we saw at the end of season 4 of Rebels. I feel like they're separated now, and that Grand Admiral Thrawn, I really hope this. I hope Thrawn has something to do with the building of the First Order. I don't feel like he will, because his character doesn't really suit it, but to see him work for the First Order or create his own militia force would be sick. 4, what is Boba up to? Absolutely wrecking stuff on Tatooine, and I can't wait for the Book of Boba Fett. December is going to be a busy month for this show, because we're going to be going into it each week with each episode. Next year's going to be busy, actually, for this show, but anyway. 5, where will Din's story go next? I feel like it will go onto something with the Darksaber and Bo-Katan and the tension building between them two characters, while also delving into the Empire and their plans with Grogu, because I feel like Din would want to know that now that him and Grogu are separated. And the final question, what will happen with Moff Gideon? He's obviously, if they bring him back to the New Republic, he's going to break out in some form, or someone's going to break him out. It's not going to be a simple thing with him. He's going to stick as the big bad of the show, and I hope he does, because Giancarlo Esposito's performance is outstanding. Right, before we get into the overall review, I just want to throw in a scene that I want them to do in the Ahsoka show, which would be great. Ahsoka and Luke meet. Boom, that's it. And Luke can learn more about what Anakin was like and more about that. I think that would work really well for Luke and his character, and I'd love to see that. And now here we are, the final bit. The overall review. Overall, the season had no extremely awful episodes. The worst it got was an okay episode, which was The Passenger. The acting was on point. The shots sometimes in the show were absolutely outstanding and phenomenal. I loved them. The plot was hands down breathtaking. It literally outstanding. And you know what? Star Wars TV shows have done better than a lot of the things they've done in Star Wars in Star Wars movies. Because Clone Wars is my favourite thing ever. Mandalorian is looking like it's got an extremely bright future ahead of it. And they're coming out with a lot more shows, a lot more films, and hopefully they just stick with the quality that they've got here and we'd be sorted. So, it's without any doubt in my mind that I am going to give The Mandalorian Season 2 a 9 out of 10. This is very close to being a 10. I'm probably going to change my mind in a bit and make it a 10, but a 9 or 10, this season is hands down phenomenal, breathtaking, some of the best Star Wars media we have ever gotten in all of our lifetimes is incredible, and I urge every Star Wars fan to watch the whole of The Mandalorian because it is great. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a big fat thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, I'll see you in the next one for whatever thing we end up doing. Adios, my dudes. Catch ya.